It is not common for a police department to speak publicly about a death by suicide, but inaccurate information has circulated and been reported, and that has led to additional harm of innocent people, bullying included, and their families. There have also been statements suggesting the police have failed to do our jobs. Those statements are not accurate.
Austin PD says they are doing everything 100% correctly in this case. The victim, whether she's a victim of taking her own life or she's a victim of something else happening, the family is not satisfied, and they are the ones that are making a lot of noise and raising questions and suspicions here. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. All right, let's talk about the apartment. What do we know about who was in the apartment that night?
Well, Vinny, along with Brianna, investigators say that there were 3 other girls in that apartment with her in those late hours in the night. Now, we don't know exactly who they are, but attorney Tony Busby claims one of them is a girl that Brianna allegedly got in a fight with earlier in the day at that tailgate at the rugby park. Now, investigators spoke with these 3 girls the following afternoon. At least one of them called 911 that afternoon, reporting Brianna missing. Now, they all 3 initially claimed they were asleep, but as the story has developed, Vinny, we now know that at least one of them was awake because Brianna borrowed that one's phone to talk with her boyfriend just minutes before her death. So, Vinny, as this story continues to unfold, we know what investigators are saying and what police are saying. We know what Tony Busby and Brianna's mother are saying, but it still seems like there's definitely some holes that need filling in here.
Yeah, and the biggest question I think Tony Busby raised was about the timing here right at the end between the phone and the original story that everyone was asleep. Cody Thomas, great work tonight. That brings us to the final question in our investigation this hour, which is, should the investigation continue at this point? Joining me, Texas criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Lindsay Richards, and still with us, private investigator Lauren Vellucci. All right, Lindsay, what are your thoughts here? Should this investigation continue?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because I don't think we know everything that was investigated so far. I know APD has given us some information, but I don't think we know the full extent of the investigation that has taken place so far. We only know kind of the holes that Busby has placed, within the investigation and from what the family has been told. But I will say, I was speaking earlier today with my investigator that I work with now as a defense attorney that was previously a homicide detective with the Austin Police Department. And he was saying he knows that they are all trained to, investigate every death as a homicide until there's irrefutable proof otherwise, right? And so he feels very confident that it must have led to irrefutable proof that this was a suicide in this instance. But the family now is calling for the Rangers to get involved. And I kind of do feel like if there's nothing wrong with the investigation and APD does feel confident about the investigation, then let's go ahead and let the Rangers kind of check their work, right? I don't think there's any harm in that.
Yeah. Lauren, do you think part of the investigation should include, and maybe it did, I don't know, asking the other young women in that apartment to voluntarily hand over their phones?
Yeah, that should have been done right away. They should have been separated, and they should have contacted the people who left that apartment 15 minutes prior to when this phone call with her boyfriend happened. If you listen to the press conference closely, he gives you a roadmap of what they did and they didn't do. And it's very telling because at the very least, this timeline is a problem for the ladies who were in this house. They are giving conflicting stories to what the actual evidence and what we know, which isn't a whole lot because in my opinion, there wasn't a proper investigation done. We know that there was a call made and at that time, and then we know when the 911 call was placed because someone saw and heard her fall. So that limits that timeline to a very specific area. And what those ladies are saying is problematic for that. And it's a big problem. But this kind of investigation doesn't just end within a day. They didn't, whatever they did or didn't do, you can't do a proper investigation like this and talk to the people that you need to talk to in the amount of time that they took to investigate this. So there's a problem. And just like my co-panelist was saying, if there isn't an issue with your work, let someone else who has an objective, sense, who isn't biased in this investigation. Because at this point they are. They've already made their findings. Let someone else come in and see and check your work.
Lindsay, we have about 30 seconds left here. What are your thoughts about the call not being made till the following afternoon at 12:14 about their friend being missing?
It's, again, I think the difficulty that I'm having and where I'm struggling is that I don't know what these witness statements, what every single one of them were, and the thoroughness of the entire investigation, because I still feel like there's a lot that we don't know. So I don't know whether or not that is enough to be suspicious completely of the entire investigation.
Lindsay Richards, Lauren Vellucci, thank you both so much. Great to have you on the show. You know, this is a really difficult and tragic story, but I 100% agree with what Brianna's family is doing. They're making noise, shining a spotlight to do everything they can to ensure a complete investigation is done. I don't know what happened to Brianna, but I know what should happen now. An open-minded, follow the evidence look at this tragic death. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.